In this conversation, award-winning international speaker AmyK is going to tell us how to navigate tough conversations like a pro. Welcome to Happiness Adventure. I'm Lisa, and together we'll explore ways to cultivate real joy in our lives. Welcome to Happiness Adventure, AmyK.
Thanks for having me.
Today we're talking about having difficult conversations. And as a starting point, why is it important even that we do have difficult conversations?
I'm super passionate about the idea that the life that we desire is on the other side of a tough conversation. So it's really easy to be on automatic pilot, but then when we want the raise, when we're looking for the promotion, when we're trying to raise teenagers, when we're building more connectivity in a relationship, those are tough conversations.
Yeah. And how does the quality of a conversation affect our life?
Everything is happening one conversation at a time. So relationships, sales, leadership, board discussions, I really do believe that it is all happening one conversation at a time. And when we figure out how to turn a tough conversation into a highly profitable one, not only do we feel more confident, we get more of what we desire, and we actually create what it is that we're going after.
Where do you see people go wrong when it comes to tough conversations?
From the get-go. So typically what we do is we show up and we're like, I'm mad about this, or I'm frustrated about this, or I want.
Yeah.
It's so imperative to remember that we're always interrupting somebody else's movie. Like they're always the hero of their own movie, and then we interrupt it. So instead of coming in and being like, Lisa, I need this, I could say, hey, Lisa, I know you have a really important meeting tomorrow, so let me share this with you. And then now all of a sudden I have your attention.
Yeah. So the preparation and how we couch it, and then once we enter into the conversation, what's the goal? What are we striving for?
The goal is to create connection. So I'm very passionate about the fact that when we go into a conversation, when we go to connect, that conversation is going to have a very different outcome than if we go in to have power over. So if I go in to dominate, if I go in to get what I want, that's a very different dynamic than if I go in to understand, have compassion, and create a win-win.
Yeah. So setting that intention off the bat.
Absolutely. And then even framing. So a lot of times, again, it's like thinking about the first words out of your mouth. The first words and the last words are going to be far more constructive and of import than anything else that happens in between.
Yep.
So if I come in and I'm like, I'm mad at you, or honey, oh my God, honey, we need to talk, that's like the kiss of death. So if you can walk in and say, hey, how might we?
Yeah.
Or I was really hoping that we, and you're already setting the tone and tenor.
Yeah. Now, what about someone who might not err on the side of being domineering, but shies away from conflict altogether?
So one of the secrets that we share is know your lines, both what to say and where to draw them. And so a lot of times I think it's really important, especially if you're more of an introvert or you're more shy or you're a people pleaser, to really think about your non-negotiables before you walk into a tough conversation. And to realize that saying no doesn't make you bad, and saying no doesn't mean that you're going to be disrespected. In fact, no thank you is a complete sentence.
I love that. So when we are getting ready to have a difficult conversation, how do you suggest we prepare?
I take it like a homework assignment. So I really think that one of the things that we can do to show people that we care, to show that we respect them, is to prepare for that tough conversation. And so I encourage all of my clients to think about the framework, so what it is that you actually want, and then turning that want into a question. So if I say something like, I want a salary increase, well, rather than just going in and demanding a salary increase, how might we make me a more integrated team player? How might I take on more responsibility to create more value and worth? That's a much different conversation than starting it with, I just want more money.
Yeah.
And so again, it's that prep. And then one of the things that I always tell my clients is, in tough conversations, when you're going to close, there's really only two things that you can do to make that relationship go forward. And that is to either offer something or request something from them. So you can either offer an apology, or you can offer an action item, or you can request something from them. But that's kind of how you always create momentum and action rather than just talking for talking's sake.
Right. And that can be so frustrating.
Yes.
So what is an example in the raise conversation where you would end with the question or the action item?
I might offer to put an action plan together of ways that I might take on more responsibility. Or I might request that they give me a list of items of things that they'd like me to go do to actually show greater worth. But
Yeah.
again, you're making something happen. You're inciting action.
Okay, so in the prep, we're thinking about what we want and then deciding what the appropriate question is to get to that outcome.
Yes, and along the way, I think it's great to have some key phrases, some lines that sort of ground and anchor you. So a lot of times when we're having a tough conversation, we can get emotional.
Yep.
We can get our, often people will say, my throat gets tight or my chest gets all tight, and then I kind of lose track.
Yeah.
So having a key phrase that grounds you, that's not an apology. But so a lot of times I'll say, especially with women, you can see that I care. Or obviously you can tell that this is important to me. That's much stronger and more confident than like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know this, I was gonna do this, I didn't know that, like,
Yeah.
Instead, oh, you can tell that I care.
Yeah. So that's something that you might say if you become visibly emotional and are embarrassed about it, for example?
Yes.
Okay, I love that. And then what are some magical phrases that you talk about?
So I love having the brilliant back pocket one-liner. I'm just a fan of that. And it doesn't mean that you go in so scripted that you can't improv and be natural, but sometimes it's just nice to pull one out and be like, ta-da, because you know it works. So in sales, I often teach, especially in our boot camp, what happens when. It is a magical phrase. So if you're talking to somebody, you're like, what happens when you run out of storage space? Or what happens when you don't have the talent that you need? Or at home, what happens when you don't have your jacket? Or what happens when you don't have your field trip permission slip? And then the kids or the adults are all imagining those pain points, and then they can feel it. And then they're like, oh, I need to solve this, and I need your help to solve this.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way of getting people to visualize a solution that you can help them solve.
Yeah.
But again, they're thinking about it on their own. And then I also love, instead of being combative, again, really trying to focus on connection. If you're not sure about where somebody's going or you're even caught off guard, there's some great phrases like, well, what was the thought behind that comment? Or say more about that. Yeah. And that allows you time to get grounded, glean some more information from them, and then decide how you really want to respond.
Perfect. What happens when, and what was the thought behind that?
Yeah, those are great ones. And I mean, I have a whole laundry. I could talk about magical phrases all day long. But I think at the end of the day, sometimes it's even just finding your phrase to say, when I go in this and I'm a little shaky, or somebody says something that sort of blindsides me, how can I stay grounded and present and not react?
So the purpose is really exploration and understanding. Yep. Okay.
It really is.
And then when you get to the point where maybe there's an impasse, how do you bridge that, or how do you break through that?
I believe in transparency. So one of the things that I love to do is just say, clearly there's an impasse here, and I'm not even sure we understand why. Yeah. So maybe we need to start by talking about what it is that we're feeling, or maybe we need to take a break. Or maybe we're in an awkward position where we're just getting too close and we're too stuck and we need to take a little bit of perspective. But here's what I truly believe is the most important.
Yeah.
Call a spade a spade. You don't have to do it with tone. You don't have to do it, in a bombastic way. Yeah. But I think that recognizing it rather than walking away from it says, this is awkward for both of us, or this is important for both of us. So what's causing us to be stuck, or what's causing this impasse? And then oftentimes it's even just maybe sometimes using humor. Humor can be like, well, clearly this is awkward. Or like, clearly we're stuck now. So maybe we need to go take a deep breath and come back, and maybe we need to come back with some alcohol. So again, finding a place to play and realizing that, we're just two human beings with our separate wants, our separate desires, and we're really just trying to connect and be understood.
Yeah. How have you seen this improve people's lives? Having these conversations.
All right, so here's my new win. So this is my highlight of the year. I am not a therapist, full stop. I'm not a therapist. I do a ton of coaching, certified coach. Yep. And I had a CEO who called me and I thought he was gonna do training with me. He didn't, he wanted to work on his relationship. So I had him sign, I'm not a therapist. We had 4 coaching sessions and all we did was focus on his response in difficult conversations with the people that he loves. He's got a better marriage that he's had in 30 years.
Wow.
He's got a better relationship between his wife and his daughter. And he's got a better relationship with his direct reports. And I'm meeting him for lunch next week. I won't say where, but it's one of those things where it was magical how when you really help people better understand the conversations in their head and then how to navigate those conversations with others, it's just an enormous impact.
Is there any other advice you have for navigating difficult conversations?
Boundaries are really hard. I think that even Warren Buffett will say that when he works with some of his wealthiest clients, part of the reason that they're rich, and that can be defined in a myriad of ways, is that they're really good at saying no. And I think that when we say no, we have a culture that says, oh, feel guilty, or we're supposed to help, or we're supposed to be generous with our time. And yes, we are here to serve. Full stop. We are totally here to serve. But realizing that you do a better job of serving others when you serve yourself, when you give yourself time to refuel, when you give yourself time to say, hey, I don't have to do this all because I'm going to help 2 or 3 people really well, or 2 or 3 causes really well. And so one of the things that it's goofy, but I say practice saying no in front of the mirror. Because oftentimes what we do is we say no, and then we undermine ourselves with, oh, it's not a good time, or call me next week. And what we really meant to say was just no thank you, and letting it stop. And so practicing that no thank you with a pause, and letting somebody else say, well, why not? Or let them be rude to say, oh, I'm just so, I just can't. No thank you. But the minute that you say, oh, I don't have time, then they have permission to come back and say, well, when will you have time? Or when will this be good for you? And what we get is we get caught in a spiral where we end up doing things that we don't want to do, and that doesn't serve anybody very well.
Yeah, I know. And then I sometimes feel resentful afterwards, which is worse. If somebody, for example, was to ask you to help run the church picnic and you didn't want to, could we practice how that would go?
I so believe in the church picnic. I'm going to be an advocate, and how I can do it right now is by writing a check. Or how I can do it right now is by sending my children to enjoy the church picnic. But I need you to know that I can't volunteer this year. Now, push back. No, make it harder.
Okay.
Get in my face, because that's the real world.
Okay, but we really need volunteers right now.
I know. And if I didn't have what I have going on in my life right now, I actually would volunteer. But I can't make that commitment. And the last thing that I want to do is overpromise and underdeliver. And so this year I'm going to have to take a pass.
Yeah. What are some places that people can learn more if they want to start practicing having difficult conversations?
Super simple. So at AmyK.com, so AmYK.com, we give a ton of stuff away for free because we know how hard communication is. You'll have access to just a ton of resources.
Wonderful. How are you cultivating joy in your life right now?
I am reprioritizing everything right now. So I am cultivating joy by more time at home, more time with relationships, more time with Mother Nature, and making sure that I prioritize things that are healthy for me, both spiritually and emotionally and physically, and just making joy-filled choices. And it's consciously, is this a joy-filled choice?
I love that. AmyK, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Total privilege.
We just heard from AmyK how to navigate tough conversations like a pro. And the links to all of AmyK's resources are in the description box right below this video. Be sure to check that out for the free guides she mentioned. In the comment section, let me know what is something that you actually do really well in your conversations. Subscribe for a new video each week, and I look forward to seeing you soon for our next happiness adventure.